There is a study in social psychology that should terrify you. It's called the compensation effect. Researchers at Princeton found that when your brain detects someone who is warm, friendly, and agreeable, it does not think, "What a wonderful person." It thinks, "What an incompetent person." Warmth and competence sit on opposite ends of a cognitive seesaw. When one goes up, the other comes down. This isn't conjecture. This isn't self-help rhetoric recycled for the 1,000th time. This is a heuristic shortcut, branded into the architecture of human perception, operating below your conscious awareness, categorizing every person you meet before you've finished shaking their hand. Your brain does this to others. Their brains do this to you. And nobody told you it was happening. Every time you were the nice guy. Every time you said sure, no problem. Every time you responded to a text message in 30 seconds flat, you weren't being generous. You were handing the room a data point. And that data point said, "This person has nowhere more important to be." You were broadcasting, below the threshold of anyone's conscious detection, including your own, that you lack the competence to demand anything better, that you are available at zero cost, that you can be accessed by anyone, at any time for any reason, without consequence. And the room received that signal. They didn't know they received it. They couldn't have articulated it if you'd asked them. But they treated you accordingly. They canceled on you last minute. They underpaid you without flinching. They saved their real respect for the person across the table who made them wait, who made them wonder, who made them work. You don't have a kindness problem. You have a pricing problem. And there is a 500-year-old strategist who understood the economics of this trap before neuroscience had a name for it. Niccolò Machiavelli called it the fatal trap of liberality. But he couldn't have known the biology behind his intuition. That biology starts with a paradox that even Adam Smith, the father of modern economics, couldn't solve. If niceness is a signal of weakness, why do humans keep doing it? The answer is buried inside the most famous paradox in economic history, and it has everything to do with why you are treated like water. Adam Smith asked a question 3 centuries ago that explains your entire social life. Why is water, which is essential for human survival, virtually free? And why are diamonds, which serve no practical purpose whatsoever, worth a fortune? The answer is scarcity multiplied by marginal utility. Water is everywhere. It falls from the sky. It flows in rivers. It pools beneath the ground. Because it's abundant, it's taken for granted. You wash your hands with it. You flush it down the toilet. You leave the tap running while you brush your teeth. Nobody writes poems about tap water. Diamonds are rare. They're buried deep in the earth. They require labor, machinery, suffering, and sometimes blood to extract. Because they're scarce, they're worshipped. People mortgage their homes to buy them. People kill for them. People starve themselves to afford them. Now look at your life. Honestly, ruthlessly. Are you water, or are you a diamond? The nice guy, the yes man, the emotionally reliable friend who never says no. He is water. He is essential to the ecosystem of others. They need him to listen to their problems at 2 in the morning. They need him to cover their shifts. They need him to do the heavy lifting nobody else volunteers for. They need him to validate their ego when nobody else will. But because he flows so freely, because he is always there, always available, always nodding, they flush him. They cancel plans with him last minute because they know he won't get mad. They'll just reschedule. They underpay him because they know he won't negotiate. He'll just accept. They dump their emotional garbage on him because they know he'll absorb it. He always does. He thinks he's being a good person. In reality, he is flooding the market with his own presence. He has created a surplus of himself. And a surplus, by the cold arithmetic of economics, is worthless. Here's the mechanism behind it. Psychologists call it effort justification. When your brain obtains something without effort, it assumes that thing is cheap. When it has to work for something, struggle for it, sweat for it, it rationalizes that the thing must be valuable. This is why hazing rituals increase group loyalty. The fraternity brother who endured a brutal initiation doesn't think, that was pointless cruelty. He thinks, if I went through all that, this group would be extraordinary. This is why expensive wines taste better in blind tests, even when they're the exact same wine poured from different bottles. The brain tastes the price tag, not the grape. This is why the gym membership you pay $200 a month for feels sacred, while the free trial you signed up for in January was abandoned by February. This is why the friend who is always available is always the first one cancelled on. It's not malice. It's not cruel. It's neurology. Your brain literally cannot assign high value to something it obtained for free. It doesn't have the circuitry. Free equals disposable. Costly equals precious. This is not a motivational poster. This is not a theory someone wrote in a self-help book. This is how human brains have operated for 100,000 years. And you've been ignoring it your entire life. Machiavelli understood this at the level of statecraft. In chapter 16 of The Prince, he observes that a ruler who strives for a reputation of generosity will inevitably squander his resources. He'll throw lavish feasts. He'll forgive debts. He'll shower his court with gifts. And when the treasury runs dry, as it always does, he'll be forced to impose extortionate burdens on his subjects just to maintain the image of generosity. The initial perception is kindness, splendor. The final reputation is hatred, contempt, desperation. But the ruler who begins as miserly, who guards his treasury with deliberate strategic frugality, can fund enterprises and defend his state without crushing anyone beneath the weight of taxation. The miserly ruler is truly generous, because his generosity is sustainable. The liberal ruler is a con artist running on borrowed time and borrowed money. Your time and emotional energy are your treasury, and you've been spending them like a ruler trying to buy love with a bankrupt estate. You've spent your life trying to be liked. You've been taught from childhood that if you give more, you will get more. That generosity is rewarded. That kindness returns kindness. That is a lie. That is the slave morality taught to workers, not the strategy whispered to kings. The give more, get more doctrine is the ideology of the commodity class. It keeps you available. It keeps you compliant. It keeps you discountable. The luxury goods operate on the exact inverse. Give less, charge more, make them earn access. In standard economics, when you raise the price of a product, demand drops. But there is an anomaly that economists call a Veblen good, named after the sociologist Thorstein Veblen. A Veblen good is a product for which demand actually increases as the price rises. Luxury handbags, exclusive memberships, rare wines, penthouse apartments. People don't want them despite being expensive. They want them because they're expensive. The price is the product. And in human psychology, this anomaly is not the exception. It is the rule. You must become a Veblen good, a person whose perceived value rises precisely because you are harder to access, harder to read, and harder to obtain. Not because you built a wall, but because you built a gate. And the gate has a price. And you stopped apologizing for it. The economics are clear. You are too cheap because you are too available. But here is where most people destroy themselves. They hear be less available, and they try 3 strategies, all of which fail catastrophically. And the reason they fail explains why 90% of people who decide to become expensive end up worse off than they started. The first trap is the cold turkey. You watch a video like this, and tomorrow morning you wake up a different person. You say no to everything. You stop responding to texts. You decline every invitation. You draw hard lines with 0 warning and 0 explanation. And within 72 hours, your social world detonates. Friends accuse you of changing. Your boss reads it as insubordination. Your partner feels abandoned, blindsided, betrayed. The group doesn't see a man who found his value. It sees a threat, and the group retaliates. This happens because behavioral ecology shows that radical shifts in social signaling trigger the group's status maintenance mechanisms. Humans survive in groups, and groups survive through predictability. When you change overnight, you don't look like someone who set a boundary. You look like someone who violated the social contract without renegotiating terms. And groups prune outliers. They always have. One commenter put it perfectly. He said, "Don't go 0 to 100 overnight." He was right. The doormat who suddenly installs a velvet rope doesn't look like a man who found his worth. He looks like an intruder who broke into someone else's house and started changing the locks. The second trap is worse, because it feels smart while it's happening. It's performative scarcity. You've read about strategic ghosting, about the power of absence, about making them miss you. So you start leaving texts unread for 48 hours while you sit at home watching Netflix. You decline invitations without actually building anything worth being busy for. You put up a facade of unavailability over a foundation of absolutely nothing. The scarcity is theatrical. There is no mission behind the silence. There is no substance behind the locked door. You're not a diamond stored in a vault. You're an empty box with a padlock on it. And here's the thing about empty boxes: people eventually figure it out. They knock, they listen, they hear the hollow echo. When they discover the vault is empty, the price doesn't just drop, it crashes to zero, and the reputational damage is permanent. You're not mysterious anymore. You're a fraud. Performative scarcity is a check drawn on an empty account. It bounces every single time. Now here's where the research gets genuinely shocking, where it inverts everything you think you know about what signals power. In the 19th century, rich people signaled their status through leisure. The more idle you were, the more powerful you appeared. Lords reclined in drawing rooms all afternoon. Kings hunted for sport on Tuesdays. Peasants worked. Aristocrats lounged. Busyness was a brand of servitude, not a badge of importance. Modern research from Columbia and Harvard has completely inverted this. Studies by Silvia Bellezza and her colleagues demonstrate that in 21st century North American culture, busyness has become the dominant luxury signal. When professionals humble brag about their packed schedules on social media, observers consistently rate them as higher in social status. Not because they're working harder, not because their output is superior, but because a crammed schedule implies one devastating truth: this person is so scarce, so in demand, that their time has become more valuable than their money. They cannot be bought with cash. You'd have to outbid the clock itself. Think about that. You've been posting in your free time. You've been showing everyone how available you are. Every one of those signals is the modern equivalent of a Victorian lord admitting he has nowhere to be. This is exactly why performative scarcity collapses. The modern status signal is not the appearance of unavailability. It's the reality of being consumed by a mission. The expensive individual doesn't withdraw into idleness. He withdraws into purpose. When your scarcity is organic, when you are genuinely unavailable because you are building something that demands your full attention, the price tag writes itself. You're not playing games. You're not manufacturing distance. You're simply elsewhere, doing something that matters more. And genuine unavailability is the only scarcity that compounds over time. It builds, it deepens, it becomes a reputation. The third trap is the cruelty miscalculation. The viewer who confuses expensive with hostile. He watches this kind of content and decides that the solution is to become an unbearable human being. He starts insulting people. He withholds basic courtesy. He treats coldness like a personality upgrade and rudeness like a competitive advantage. This is not the Machiavellian prince. This is the tyrant. And Machiavelli explicitly warned that a prince who is hated will be overthrown. He will be conspired against. He will be abandoned in his hour of need. The difference between the bouncer at a luxury club and a bully on the street is purpose. The bouncer has a door worth protecting. There is something of genuine value behind him. The bully has nothing behind him but ego and insecurity. Being expensive is not being cruel. It's curated with integrity. Selectivity applied with clear purpose is the highest form of respect you can offer another human being. Without that purpose, it's just spite wearing a tailored suit. So the cold switch fails, the fake scarcity fails, and cruelty fails. Every shortcut collapses because they're all missing the same thing: a structural foundation. You cannot install a velvet rope in front of an empty building. You need to build the building first. And the blueprint for that building was hidden inside a handbag. A $30,000 handbag that you cannot buy, no matter how rich you are. The Hermes Birkin bag is the most coveted luxury item on the planet. Not because of the leather, not because of the stitching, but because of the process. You cannot walk into Hermes and purchase a Birkin. It doesn't work that way. To even be considered for one, you must first build a purchase history with what the industry calls ancillary products. Scarves, jewelry, belts, enamel bracelets. Small items purchased consistently over months, sometimes years. You must demonstrate commitment to the brand before the brand commits to you. This mechanic is called tying. It creates an ecosystem that filters for one thing and one thing only: demonstrated long-term investment. Hermes doesn't maintain a wait list. There is no queue. There is uncertainty, cultivated deliberately, and a personal relationship with a sales associate who decides, based on your history, whether you've earned the offer. The brand controls the timing, not the customer. Never the customer. This is the protocol you need to apply to your own life. Not because you're selling handbags, because you're selling something far more valuable: yourself, your time, your attention, your emotional bandwidth. Call it the Birkin protocol. It has 3 arms. The first arm is the tying mechanic applied to human relationships. Before you grant anyone core access, your deep time, your real opinions, your emotional vulnerability require escalating demonstrations of investment. Tier 1 is consistency. Can this person show up reliably for low-stakes interactions? Do they follow through on small commitments? Do they remember what you told them? Or do they ask the same question every time? Tier 2 is cost. Will they invest when it costs them something? Will they show up when it's inconvenient, when there's nothing in it for them, when the weather is bad and the drive is long? Will they defend you in a room you're not standing in? Tier 3, and only Tier 3, is core access, the inner circle, the real you. They didn't get here because they asked nicely. They got here because they demonstrated, through accumulated action over time, that they deserved the invitation. This is not manipulation, it's filtration. You're ensuring the only people inside the club have paid the cover charge in something more valuable than money. Consistent, tested loyalty. The second arm is the silence tax. Information is currency, and like any currency, it's subject to inflation. The more you talk, the less your words are worth. The cheap man is an open book. He tells you his entire life story on the first date. He explains his business strategies to his coworkers over lunch. He vents his frustrations to his neighbors. He posts his every thought, mood, and meal on social media. He is flooding the market with data about himself. And because he has told everyone everything, he has no leverage. He has no mystery. He has no informational edge. The expensive man is a vault. In conversation, he lets the other person speak 80% of the time. He listens. He absorbs. He catalogs. When he speaks, he doesn't explain. He declares, "I'm moving to a new city." Why? Where? Is it for work? It's time for a change. End of sentence. No elaboration. No justification. Justification is the language of the subordinate. The boss gives orders. The employee gives explanations. When you withhold details, something fascinating happens inside the other person's mind. They fill in the blanks themselves. They project their own fantasies, their own narratives onto you. They assume you have a master plan. They assume you're deeper than you are, more strategic than you reveal. The human mind is obsessed with unsolved puzzles. Silence creates a vacuum, and in that vacuum, your perceived value rises like pressure in a sealed chamber. When the quiet man finally speaks, the room goes still. When the loud man speaks, people check their phones. The third arm is the one nobody in this space talks about. Because admitting it exists means admitting this strategy has a cost. And it does. Every time you override your emotional impulse, every time you resist the urge to react, to snap back, to explain yourself, to justify your boundaries, your prefrontal cortex is burning fuel. Real, metabolic fuel. It's actively suppressing signals from the amygdala, your brain's alarm system, forcing calm over chaos through sheer executive function. Neuroscience has a name for the cumulative damage this causes. They call it an allostatic load. It's the wear and tear of chronic self-regulation. Your cortisol stays elevated. Your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis stays activated. Your nervous system stays in a low-grade state of combat readiness, even when you look perfectly composed on the outside. The man who maintains a stoic mask without recovery protocols is a Ferrari engine running on contaminated fuel. He looks powerful while the internals are corroding. True resilience is not endurance. It is not gritting your teeth indefinitely. True resilience is recovery speed. How fast can your nervous system shift from sympathetic activation, fight or flight, back to parasympathetic homeostasis, rest and repair? The expensive man never breaks. He breaks in private. He rebuilds in silence. He uses decompression protocols with the same discipline he applies to everything else. Solitude, physical exertion, journaling, heat therapy, long walks with no destination and no phone. These aren't luxuries. They aren't indulgences. They are maintenance costs. If you're going to run a high-performance machine, you have to budget for premium fuel. Anything less, and the engine seizes when you need it most. You now have the architecture, the Birkin protocol, the silence tax, the biological invoice. But architecture without execution is a blueprint gathering dust on a shelf. The question that kept the most tactically minded viewers awake at night was never why should I become expensive. They already knew why. The question was how do I become expensive starting Monday morning without blowing up my entire life? Here is the answer. A 4-week stealth escalation, not a revolution, a renovation. By the time anyone notices, you're already someone else. Week 1. The delay. Starting tomorrow, delay your response time by 30 minutes minimum. Don't announce this change. Don't explain it to anyone. When someone texts, let it sit. When someone asks for a favor, say, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you." You're not saying no. You're introducing latency. A buffer. A gap between stimulus and response. The social system barely registers this shift. No one panics over 30 minutes. But your nervous system begins to rewire. You're teaching yourself at the neurological level that the world does not collapse when you don't respond in 12 seconds. That pause is not rude. That pause is sovereignty. Week 2. The hesitation. Start using the phrase, "I need to think about it," for requests you would normally accept reflexively. Decline one social invitation with no explanation beyond, "I can't make it." No apology. No excuse. No alternative date offered. Let the silence sit where the explanation used to be. You are training the network to experience your absence as a data point, not an emergency. They won't panic. They'll barely notice. But the pattern is being established. The market is registering a slight decrease in supply. Week 3. The boundary. Set one hard boundary and hold it under pressure. Choose one that matters to you. "I don't take calls after 8 p.m. Or, "I don't work weekends." Or, "I don't discuss this topic." State it once, clearly, without anger. When tested, and you will be tested, hold the line without justification, without apology, without negotiation. The line exists because you said it does. Period. This is the week people start to notice. Some will push back. Some will probe. Some will escalate. The pushback is the test. Understand that clearly. The pushback is not a problem to be solved. It is a test to be passed. If you hold, they recalibrate their entire model of who you are. If you fold, they own you, and they'll know they own you, and they'll file that information away permanently. Week 4. The audit. Apply the tying mechanic to your existing inner circle. Who has actually demonstrated investment? Who shows up without being asked? Who defends you in rooms you aren't standing in? Who invests when it costs them something? And who only appears when they need the Birkin? Your time, your energy, your emotional labor, your willingness to listen. Begin allocating your presence proportionally to demonstrated commitment. Give more to those who earned it. Give less to those running a deficit. This isn't cruelty. This is resource management. This is what Hermes does with every single client who walks through their doors. Now, a critical distinction for those of you still at the starting line. If you are at the beginning, if you're building skills, building a network, building a body of work with nothing to show yet, you are in what Machiavelli called the path phase. And Machiavelli, who was nothing if not precise, conceded that during the phase of ascent, strategic generosity is necessary to garner support. Julius Caesar rose through Roman politics on immense personal debt and extravagant public displays. He gave freely because he needed allies, and allies cost money. But Machiavelli also noted, with the coldness of a surgeon, that had Caesar survived after attaining mastery and not moderated his expenditures, he would have destroyed the empire beneath his own weight. The lesson is precise and non-negotiable. Use generosity as launch fuel during the growth phase. But the moment you reach a platform of basic stability, the moment you have something real beneath your feet, the generosity must be decapitated. If you never transition from the path phase to the maintenance phase, you will spend your entire life giving discounts on a product that was never meant to be on sale. Build rare skills, not common ones, rare ones, the kind that takes years and can't be Googled. Build a network that is wide, not just deep. Build a mind that is self-sufficient, that can sit alone in a room for 8 hours and emerge sharper than it entered. These are your own arms. And when you know, deep in your bones, that you can walk away from any table and be fine, genuinely fine, you become dangerous. You don't just negotiate differently, you exist differently. You carry yourself with the gravity of someone who doesn't need this particular deal, this particular relationship, this particular approval. This is my price. This is my standard. Meet it or I walk. And you mean it. The free man stays in bad relationships because he's afraid to be alone. The expensive man leaves because he knows his solitude is worth more than bad company. The free man accepts a low salary because unemployment terrifies him. The expensive man quits because he knows his skills are a rare commodity that appreciates with time. Chris Voss, the FBI's former lead international hostage negotiator, put it in 5 words that should be tattooed on the inside of your eyelids. Neediness is the death of negotiation. The moment the other side smells that you must have the deal, the price drops through the floor. To be expensive is to radiate a willingness to walk away from the table entirely, not as a bluff, not as a tactic, as a structural fact of your existence. The world is a marketplace. It has always been a marketplace. It does not reward generosity. It rewards scarcity. It does not respect availability. It respects difficulty. It does not value what it gets for free. It worships what it had to fight to obtain. Every civilization in human history has understood this. The pharaohs knew it. The samurai knew it. The Medici bankers knew it. And yet you, with all the information in the world at your fingertips, have been giving out free samples of your soul and wondering why no one values the full product. Close the store. Change the price tag. Treat every yes like a discount code and every instant reply like brand dilution. You cannot be expensive to others while you're cheap with yourself. Stop the self-deprecating jokes. Stop consuming garbage and calling it relaxation. Stop telling people your next move before you've made it. Treat yourself like a high-performance machine that requires premium fuel, because the world takes its pricing cues from the owner. If you mark yourself down, nobody in the marketplace is going to argue with your assessment. They'll simply pay what you asked for, which was nothing. You are the only asset you will ever truly own. And once you are spent, once you have given every piece of yourself away for free, you cannot be bought back. There are no refunds on a depleted life. The expensive man is not cold. He is not cruel. He is not indifferent. He is selective. And selectivity, applied with integrity, is the highest form of respect you will ever offer another human being, because it tells them something that flattery never could. It tells them, I chose you, not out of desperation, not out of loneliness, not out of habit, but because you earned it. Be rare, be difficult, be expensive,